Deforestation is considered to be a worldwide problem that many of us have probably heard about. It can lead to many additional issues, like an increase in CO2 in the atmosphere and a shortage of natural resources. The causes of deforestation can be anything from logging to mining, or even the use of agriculture and land development. The Peruvian Amazon is one of the most crucial places to protect if we hope to stop the negative effects of deforestation, but is also one of the most threatened. Sadly, the Peruvian Amazon, and specifically Madre de Dios, where we spent our 3 weeks, are subject to all of the causes of deforestation you see here. These causes of deforestation are amplified by the migration of people from the Andes, the political corruption in the area, ineffective policies, and a lack of support and funding to protect these forests.
One of the major themes that we kept seeing during our time in the Las Piedras region was the importance of having people on the ground, protecting the forest on a day-to-day basis. Even though Peru has a number of laws on the books that are supposed to protect its forests, enforcement is often lacking. Police are usually stationed far from the forest interior, and, in many cases, conservationists working in the forest have to pay the food and fuel costs of the police that they bring in to enforce these laws. For this reason, conservationists are ready to defend the forest themselves in cases when the police can't come. For example, a while back, the staff at Las Piedras Amazon Center received a call from another rainforest conservation organization located to the south. A few days before, the researchers and staff at LPAC had tried to help the organization to deal with a work crew attempting to build an illegal logging road on their border. These sorts of roads allow remote areas to be opened up to logging, and so represent an important threat to undisturbed rainforests like the one around LPAC. The resulting standoff had ended with the work crew agreeing to make the road thinner and to only use it to transport agricultural products from local farms. But now, the staff member on the phone said, another problem had arisen. Not only were the workers continuing to construct the road at its original size, but they were heading straight towards LPAC. Immediately, the crew at LPAC sprang into action. One of the crew's researchers and 5 of the Peruvian staff members hiked down to the southern border, where they found that the work crew had stopped to construct a bridge over a stream just a few hundred yards from the border. Placing their bodies in front of the bulldozers, the LPAC crew began to speak with the workers and the 2 members of the local agricultural association who had hired them. They explained that while they had no problem with the farmers building trails on their own land for getting their products to the river for transport, allowed to do so in LPAC, since it is leased from the Peruvian government for conservation. At first, the 2 members of the Agricultural Association insisted that there were no plans to build or log on LPAC's land, but after a long discussion, they finally admitted that the road was supposed to go about 150 meters over the border before making a right towards the river. The crew from LPAC refused to move, and after a few more conversations, they finally agreed to turn the road to the right and down to the river just before crossing the border. The rainforest around LPAC was safe, but only for the moment. While not all threats to the forest are on this scale, the constant possibility of threats of all sizes requires dedicated people to be on the ground and constantly ready to meet them. So who are these people who have dedicated their lives to being on the ground, protecting the Las Piedras? One person we met at LPAC who has done a lot to help protect it during the time he has been there was herpetologist Dylan Singer. Originally hailing from Canada, Dylan first came to LPAC a few years ago as a temporary researcher and never left. Today, he is in charge of an innovative, long-term research project that is using radiotelemetry to study the ecology of local green anacondas. As Dylan explained to us, the scientists play an important role in the kind of on-the-ground conservation that is crucial to protecting the Amazon rainforest. As a part of their everyday work of collecting data on the forest and its diverse community of plants and animals, scientists like Dylan are constantly hiking the trails of LPAC, allowing them to be on the lookout for signs of poaching, logging, and other harmful activities. They can also participate in more direct actions, such as using their bodies to block the paths of machines, which Dylan actually did during the recent standoff at LPAC's southern border. Meanwhile, the data that they collect goes towards putting together a clearer picture of the health of the forest and what can be done to protect it. Even though the Peruvian government often has trouble with enforcing conservation laws, Dylan told us that he is hopeful that one day his research will help to create better informed and better implemented forest protection policy.
In our time at LPAC, we were also able to interview Lisa Lott, who is part of an organization called Jungle Keepers. This organization helps to provide protection to the forest within the boundaries of LPAC. Jungle Keepers is a nonprofit organization that enlists and trains volunteers to protect endangered forests. In Peru, however, the organization pays its jungle keepers and employs local and indigenous people while further teaching them the value that their forests have. While interviewing Lisa Lott, she described to us some improvements that the organization would make if they had the funding. Currently, these Peruvian jungle keepers don't have access to vital training and equipment, nor do they have ample safety measures or enforcement capabilities to protect them while they're working to protect these forests.
Hi there. I would like to talk about the park guards, the guys who are on the ground tasked solely with protecting and making sure that their concessions, the concessions of Jungle Keepers, of LPAC, as well as a couple other Brazil Nut concessions, are kept safe away from loggers, hunters, or squatters as well. But first, I'd like to talk about these two rangers. So, Ranger Rolly, he's from Puerto Maldonado, that is. He, as a kid, worked with his dad, who was tasked with looking for medicinal plants as well as taking soil samples, and in doing so, developed an affinity for nature and love of the outdoors. He then went to university to study mechanics and became a mechanic for a little while. Then got hooked up with Jungle Keepers and has been working with Jungle Keepers for the last little while. Ranger Rubin was actually formerly a park guard for the National Park Service in Peru. He did that for a while, then decided to leave that, went out and actually did the opposite and became a hunter and worked in logging for a little, did that for about 4 years, and then realized that that wasn't it. He wanted to go back to being a park guard and got connected with Jungle Keepers and started working with Jungle Keepers. And so both these guys are two of the 8 men who patrol the territories that Jungle Keepers works with and partners with to protect them from things that I'm going to talk about next. All right, now I would like to talk about the responsibilities of the park guards. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through a day in the life of the park guards. So they'll get up and their job is to get up and go for 12, 13, 14, maybe 15-mile walk or hike. They go on the borders of the territory. They go through the middle of the concessions, around the concessions. Their job is to make sure that there's no illegal activities going on these properties. So what they do is they look for any signs of hunters, poachers, loggers, squatters, anything they can find, um, and they document it. So they have this thing called smart technology, SMART technology, and what that does is basically if they see a tree that's been cut down or they see something that's been flagged or any sign of human activity or even an animal, if they see a live jaguar or an ocelot. They mark it down. They put down in their phone. They just say this was seen here, and so after that they have this long list of where all these sightings and activities have occurred, so that they have a historical reference, and now they can say, okay, we're gonna strategically put more surveillance or put more activity in this area to make sure that these things don't happen here or that these animals get protected or this tree gets protected or squatters don't show up here again, which has actually been adopted by the national park system after these guys started using it. However, if you can see in this picture right here, the one in the top left with the guy smiling holding a gun. So if there's two park guards and they're walking around and they stumble upon a couple loggers holding guns, the park guards don't have guns. They have their machetes, but that's just for work. And so, one of the things they talked to us about was training. They really want de escalation training. They really want to learn how to talk to someone who has a gun or who's angry or people who are squatting. If there's 10 squatters, people who are trying to live on the land and claim the land is theirs, and there's 10 of them and there's two park guards, they want to learn what to do in that situation because that's very dangerous. And so they're kind of asking for a little bit of help with that and emergency medical training. They want to know what happens um, if they're out in the field and something happens. They want to be able to react to that. They also, another very cool thing that they were talking about was they wanted to do outreach training. They wanted to talk to the people in the community, because the truth is the people who are going to be hunting or poaching or logging are probably people who are from very close by. The squatters might be people from far outside, but most of the issues are going to come from locals. And so what they want to do is educate the community, especially the children and kids of the local communities, about how important it is to protect nature and how important it is to keep the connection with the outdoors. And it was really cool to see that message of how they wanted to share that. And hopefully they will be able to. Yeah.
So you may be wondering, how can I make a difference? Well, you can do that best by supporting the people on the ground defending the Amazon every day. Whether it's through donations, which you can make at www.junglekeepers.com, or by scanning the QR code on your screen. You could also have fundraisers or charity concerts to raise awareness for issues in the Amazon and take those proceeds and make appropriate donations. Through your donation, Jungle Keepers can provide more training, buy better equipment, and hire more park guards, all of which is essential in protecting the forests of the Las Piedras. You could also take a journey to the Amazon yourself, whether it's ecotourism, which is offered at LPAC or Arc Amazon, or volunteering for several weeks or months at LPAC's Research Center. Not only is it a great research opportunity, but it provides extra staffing and funding to LPAC. For McDaniel students, you can apply to the Forest Online Jan Term class and take the journey for yourself. You'll meet the people we've mentioned working on the ground every day, defending the Amazon rainforest. And you'll start to understand something that Ranger Rowley reminded us of. To value the little that you have, for it is the start of something big. And no matter how small your actions, you can have an impact.